Yo, Liege Games, let's do this. What do you need to know? Upcoming week. Now, this is the week before the storm. The 18th is going to be a cluster of things attacking your wallet, point blank. This week, though, is a little bit of some stuff under the radar, a little bit of stuff in between. How do you feel about things? Where are the top games? What do you need to know about them? And a little bit of everything in between. We'll do it. Also, we're going to be doing some campaign updates. So I'm going to mix things up a little bit today. We're going to do campaign updates first and then upcoming games second to give you a little twist on things because we need to talk about some big names. There you go. Let's do this. Look, we're going to start with Tainted Grail, right? Kings of Ruin, 2.7 million. It's going to be, one of the higher ones in the history of Awakened Realms by the end of this, right? Because we are still at 11 days left. They're doing the daily unlocks. They've unlocked a couple stretch goals, monetary-wise, which I find it so weird that, as a side note, Simon does the same thing, and they get bashed, raked over the coals with this, and maybe it's just because of the exclusives and people blend those two together, but I mean, it's the same thing, right? Stretch goals being stretch goals. Anyway, do you need both? Do you need both? My answer, frankly speaking, usually, almost always is no. Whether that is legacy games, whether that is sequels, there are very few out there that I would say yes to that. You can run through the expansions and you can run through the add-ons that they've unlocked so far. You've got a bunch of extra things that are going to be incorporated if different events, new things called weird forms, which are, basically evolutions or mutations of your character. And so they're allowing people to vote on sort of what you want them to look like or what you want them to be, which is very typical Awakened Realms. You've got the potential for a narration here in the future, new companions that are being unlocked. So you get a little bit of everything there. Play it the easy way, which is basically the adventurer's notebook that you're going to be having a tracker, essentially a little bit easier way to do it. A little bit more of an expansion here as well. Like I said, that's going to be in the stretch goal box, which is just going to be, as I've always mentioned, the best deal above all else. You could sell just the core pledge here and make $30 if you wanted to easily. But again, it's a safe bet, but who cares if that's all you're doing? I decided I will be doing a video on this about the things you should consider more in depth. And so hopefully I'll have that out later this week if I can fit that in with all of the other review stuff. I just need to sit down and hack it out. So if that's something you want to see, again, let me know. But that's all I'm going to cover on it right now. But it's Tainted Grail. It's Tainted Grail 2.0. It's the most beautiful art that you'll probably see this month on crowdfunding. But is it enough to lure you is really the question. Terraforming Mars, the dice game. This is going to be done by the time this video goes live next week. So I wanted to include this, $300,000. And I saw people poo-pooing this all over the place, whether it was Reddit or Board Game Geek, like, I don't need a more streamlined thing. I'm going to roll dice. I mean, which is exactly what I said they were going to say when I looked at this. And I commented on the video from last week, right? Like, people that wanted Terraforming Mars, it's more of a Euro deterministic, I control my own fate to the most extent. I'm going to build a better engine than you, right? And so if you incorporate dice, it forces people to be more tactical. And a lot of the people who went for this game originally want a more strategic game. I'm saying it's still a good price. People are poo-pooing it, but between the expansion as well as the promos that you're going to get, you're going to break even. And, again, $5 or $10 here or there, right? I mean, I just bought a game this week at retail from Target. I just bought the new Star Wars Clone Wars Pandemic game. It cost me about $60, right? I just got an email today from Board Game Bliss and a couple of those other online sites. It's like $55. And I'm like, oh, I could have saved $5. No, I'm not going to save a whole lot more money, right? Even though I think I am, because I got it with free shipping from Target. Or I could have picked it up, but the free shipping was better because then I didn't have to waste like $5 or $6 in gas going and driving and bringing it back, plus the time that was required. Plus, I'm either going to have to, pay the shipping from someplace like Board Game Bliss, which is going to cost me another $10 or $12, or I'm going to have to try and reach the shipping threshold, which is going to cost me even more money because buying more to save a little doesn't always make sense. I say that all the time, and I feel like I'm talking into the wind, screaming, anyway, but that's why I like this game. I think it's another version of this that I'm going to be able to play. It's going to be again, I'm not going to say it's going to be drastically different, but I think it's going to be a little bit more random. And I like random. I am a chaos fiend when it comes to dice rolling. I love dice. Dice hate me. This is a game that I could see my wife preferring this version and me preferring Ares. So if it gets played, folks, boom, there you go. Do you need the promos though? My answer is always no. Naturopolis, which is also going to be done by the time this weekend airs and goes into, I mean, this has got $117,000 from Button Shy. Now they're offering some of the big content for all of in the line of this, like with Sprawlopolis and stuff. But as a route building game, people really love this. And so as a small box, combining with a bunch of expansions, now I guess that's really the question is, you know, you get all of these expansions, and that's my problem with 9 Minute Kingdoms right there. It's like, am I ever going to play with all the expansions? The answer is probably not. And so that's the temptation, right? Though it's cheap, I can buy it and I can get all of them for cheap. Well, you know, $20 is still $8 more than $12 if you aren't going to use it. So are you really saving by buying more? Again, something to think about. But with all of the information that's out there with this, I mean, I have no doubts about telling you you're getting a really, really solid game from that standpoint as well. So I don't worry about that with either of these two games. So now we get to the part, the main course, if you will, of the games that are going to be launching this coming week. And first up is going to be right behind me, right? We have Wonderlands War. We're getting a mini expansion for Wonderlands War. This area control bag building chip designating Alice in Wonderland type game. Believe me, it's better than it sounds. It's much better than it sounds. I think, again, like I said previously, this is going to be on the top 10 list, I think, of a lot of people in the industry for 2022. It's that sort of a surprising thing. The aesthetic is beautiful. The heavy chips are nice. I think the miniatures are totally superfluous. I know, it's miniatures. Anyway, but, you know, I was one of those people that sort of split. And I really give kudos to Druid City Games for allowing us to split. You know, you can get the miniatures, you can get the chips, you can choose your deluxeifications and not be, like, overpriced out of the wazoo, right? Because you see, like, you get the all-in and you save, like, $50, and if you like piecemeal it, you pay almost the same thing, and they didn't do that with this, so I give them a lot of kudos. This is going to be a mini expansion. There is going to be a full-blown expansion sometime in the future, but that might not be for like another year. Like, we might be talking about that like this time in 2023, and that's okay, you know. A lot of people are clamoring for a little bit of the deluxeification. So we'll see what comes with it, and we'll kind of see where else things lie when that goes live. Day before that, we are getting Wander, LaClucks Revenge from the Wander, the Barnacle Bay dungeon crawl light dice chucker, if you will. The description, you can't make this stuff up. The description of this game is, well, the folks in Barnacle Bay were messing with magic that was beyond their comprehension, and you have summoned, I'm reading this, Ghost Pirate Chicken Lord LaCluck and her mutinous crew of the Ghost Pirate Monkey Grunts, Ghastly Pig Gunners, and Wailing Albatross Banshees. And Rampaging Rhino Cannoneers. Someone was taking verbiage from Spirit Island. They were getting lessons from those guys about who can make the coolest names for the pieces, right? You're choosing one of your heroes out of the guild. You're dice chucking, fighting back against these ghost pirates. Level up, get stronger, dual action tree to get your character stronger, RPG-esque in this dungeon crawl game. It's one of those games, though, that has modular setup, and then with this system that is an automatic hit, meaning if you don't destroy the bad guys, they're going to do damage to you. It's no roll for success, they just hit, but you can roll for defense. And so it's got a little bit of a dynamic. I know this one was a little bit of a sleeper hit in 2018. The people that like it really like it. It's a light chucker. And how do you feel about that? Do you have space for that? Do you need something like that? Especially Cthulhu Death May Die Season 3. Anyway, there'll be a whole video on that coming out in the near future. My thoughts on that, even the pre-launch, a few speculations and wishes and wants. Anyway, but that's going to be launching Wander here, not Cthulhu. Although they said Cthulhu is going to be really soon, so expect to see that one before the end of October as well, because Simon has not given huge advance notice on the previous couple campaigns, like 2 weeks or less notice. So take that for what you will. But this is launching on the 10th. Also launching on the 11th, this is going to be a very interesting one as well for the competition for most aesthetically pleasing game of October, or, you know, of the year potentially as well. And this is Life of Amazonia. This is from Bad Comic Games, and the essential core of this game is meeple placing, bag building, pattern building. Does that sound interesting? It really should, because you're going to be trying to restore the land, plants, trees, flowers, jungles, trying to economically, ecologically make it rich. I mean, I personally, just like with Wonderlands War, am a huge fan of bag building. I think bag building is highly underrated. They say the combinations of things in terms of setups and the animals and how you're going to be manipulating this is, you know, going to be 60,000 different ways. I'm not making that number up. That's actually what the Board Game Geek description page uses. But I wonder if it's just like the Redwood game that just launched this past week of, you know, is it just going to price people out? Like, you know what, when the game costs 3 times what it's going to be at retail, I don't care how good of a game it is. I mean, especially without a hands-on nowadays, it's hard sell. It is. You know, you have to love it. And I'm being really picky. I don't know about you guys. I'm being really picky on the love it's lately. Not, I really like it. Not, I think it's kind of cool. Not, you know what, I might like it and maybe it'll nice. Maybe I'll get that. No, I love it. And frankly speaking, that saved me some money. I'm speaking also, we'll reference Simon's Cthulhu Death May Die twice here in 2 games. Spoilers, you know, going to get the big guy that they're going to put out, and you know they're going to put out a big guy with a new Cthulhu Death May Die one. They're going to do it. They're going to do it. They're going to do it. Quote me right here. But this is going to be aesthetically pleasing. Is this going to be Redwood? Is this going to be Wild Serengeti? Or is it going to be Canvas? You know, what is the price point for stuff like this now? Because we're seeing the deluxeifications, not just with like the heavy Euros, we're seeing them across the board. Across the board. And how does that make you feel? Because as I just talked about in the roundup yesterday, you know, there's only so many of these games. When a game like this that's going to go for $30 or $40 at retail goes for $100 or $120, including shipping, with deluxeifications on crowdfunding, how many of those can you do? Again, I'm not saying don't do them. I'm saying we, you, I, everyone that's watching this is going to pick a couple that they like, and they're not going to be getting all of them. So if you can't have enough money to spread around, other projects are going to suffer, or other projects aren't going to get as high as they want. They're going to fund, they're not going to fund, and they're going to relaunch, and we're going to see, you know, how things have ripple effects across the board. So that's why this is an interesting test as well, because I think there's going to be a lot of comparisons with the things I just mentioned. Next up, Mosaic, a new expansion for the Civ tile laying game, and this is Wars and Disasters. Well, guess what it's bringing you, right? Wars and disasters. Civilizations survive or they succumb. That's the gist of this expansion. This is an action selection game. This is a very complex action selection game because you're taking one of not 1, not 2, not 4, 7 different variable actions that you have access to. Now, the weight on Board Game Geek is actually only just under 3, which may be a little bit deceptive because I have really heard that this game is lengthy, like long, even though again, the description is like 90 to 120 minutes. And I've heard mixed feelings about it as well. Action selection, Civ building in general. I like action selection, but Civ building in general has never had the appeal to me. Like even like SimCity or, you know, Civilization on the PC, you know, I'm old enough to have one of the originals. It just never did it for me. Like I just never got into that. And it's sort of translated true to the board game scene as well. Like, I don't mind it, but it never has attracted me. So Forbidden Games is now giving us a new expansion to this. There are already several other expansions out for Mosaic in previous crowdfunding campaigns. And if you're a lover, do you need this one? If you don't have any, is it going to be the one that brings you in? I don't know. Because this is also a pricier game. I mean, you're easily talking triple digits without this expansion to get the other stuff. How do you feel about that, knowing that this is going to be launching on the 13th? Now, I didn't mention it, but Life of Amazonia is actually launching on the 12th, so we've got some staggering here this week. Now, next up, we're going completely different because this is, speaking of games that have previously been on crowdfunding that you know about, boom, you may recognize this. This is Deep Madness. This is the horror survival dungeon crawl, super, super hard difficulty, right? Where you're exploring underwater and trying to stay alive, not only from the creatures, but just in terms of oxygen because you're freaking underwater, right? Unlike the other ones, I'm going to pull up the preview page because I actually have a link to it so you can see a little bit of what's going to be different, because they actually say that this one's going to be a third printing. So there's some relatively different aesthetic changes that have happened to this one. So here you go. Here is the page, prior to launch. You can see that they have a $100,000 goal. Madness Reborn is the new expansion. And there are 1 to 6 players for this game. And I just can't imagine playing this. But it had 2.4 million when it originally went. Another 1.8 when it went again in 2018. If you just want the new stuff, though, it's, again, going to cost you $100. The core game's only cost you $85. The expansion is going to be more than the original core. That's crazy to me, folks. Crazy. You can get some of the other expansions here. Gameplay all in is going to cost you $400+ by the time. Look at all these expansions. There's a lot of content for this. Here's the expansions. Here are the fan-crafted scenarios, reimagining of monsters and tentacles everywhere. More tentacles on everything that you can ever imagine. So do you need more of it? This is a huge page. I'm not going to scroll all the way down, but these pictures are massive, and there's just tons of pledge level content going over here as well. So pick and choose, get it all, get it individually, a la mode, whatever you want. It's a scenario-driven, story-crawling dungeon game, right? Another way of putting it, you have linked scenarios that are dungeon crawls. I mean, that's what you're doing here. Unique board setup, special effects, but it's a crawl. They have sort of a special phase, devour phase, the spawn phase, where you are flipping tiles into the madness side, and that's where the bad guys, monsters will spawn, and it slowly descends you into madness, and so that's another thing you're having to keep track of. How do you feel about this? I mean, again, I'm not a big horror genre person. Like, I'm throwing it in third time as the charm, right? Cthulhu Death May Die is about as far as I venture into the horror things, right? I don't watch horror movies. I don't play a lot of horror games. I just don't. It's just not me. Like, I don't like that theme. It just doesn't do a whole lot for me. I understand it, and here and there, I'm okay with it. But going out of my way for something like that is just not typically me either, and that's okay. But there's a lot of people that love this game, as you saw on that page. I mean, you're talking $4+ million over a couple campaigns, which for a small company here, Dimension Games is doing really, really well. So they're striking. We're going to see what it brings. Are people sick of it? Or do people have enough of it? I mean, that's the question when you have these upteenth expansions, right? And talking about Cthulhu, talking about Spirit Island next week. How big is it going to be? How big is the saturation? How much do people want more? Can you have enough? Can you have too much? Yeah, you absolutely can of both. So this is going to be another interesting test of the market to see how much of this rabid fan base is putting out another $100+ for more content. There you go. Next up, we have another underwater game. We're doing these back to back, and this one is called Deep Shelf, where you're exploring the underwater, but this time you're actually going for resources. More of a pick up and deliver tech tree style game here. What you're trying to do is, as you go underwater and explore, as well as develop and potentially exploit, you're trying to balance stripping it for resources versus allowing it to grow and to find out more wonders. Like, how fast do you want to grab those resources to be able to build more, or how much do you want to explore and develop to potentially reap it later on? And that's the dynamic of this game. You're a corporation that is going head to head against other corporations in order to essentially, have the most at the end. Now they even put a caution in it. Not everything in the deep is friendly, and if you strip mine it too fast, bad things are going to happen, essentially. What that is, how that entails, what you're going to do with this, I have no idea, but it should be interesting to see. Just something as, a little bit of a sleeper hit. I could see this going either way. The theme is engaging, and if you can do right by the mechanics, show me what you got, Ninth Haven Games. There we go. Launching on the 11th is this one. Also launching on the 11th, we have Roll to the Top. Now, this is a remake of a roll and write where you're essentially traveling the world, 1 to 6 players, 20-minute game. Originally, I think it was like 2016 was the first time around, and you're a young woman going on a once-in-a-lifetime journey around the world, traveling the landmarks, sending postcards back home, trying to fill up all of the right boxes before your opponents. Now, you're going to be traveling from each location to location. You're going to be taking a pool of common dice, and you're going to be having to scale the numbers as you go up incrementally. So you're going to be careful about how you place the numbers in the boxes as you go at each specific landmark, because they're also going to have special differences that are going to affect how you do that. What's going to be different? What's going to be new? Is it going to be like a physical product? Is it going to be more print and play? We've already seen the success of games like Aquamarine, as well as the previously mentioned Voyages, as well as Sunshine City are the ones that I already backed this year because they put out a great product and it's cheap to get and you can laminate it and play it yourself at home with any number of people. Is this going to be in line with that? We've seen a couple other successes as well. So what's it going to look like? Is it going to have the appeal that a couple of these other have? We'll see. It's launching on the 11th. Also launching on the 11th, we have 7th Sea. You may be familiar with that property. This is going to be another test of the market. 7th Sea, City of the Five Sails. And it's going to be an expandable game. So there you go. Take that for what you will right there. But there's going to be a common deck that you're going to be sharing that's going to have events, locations, creatures, allies, whatever in there. And you're also going to have some sort of swordplay back and forth in terms of dueling as the unique combat mechanism to simulate more of a thematic incorporation. You're controlling one of 5 factions in order to influence, control, and explore the most unruly city of 5 sails. Whoever can do so the best wins. That's about all the information I have. Expandable makes me very cautious, but it's all the rage as well at times on crowdfunding too. We've seen hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of $1,000s being thrown at those games as well. So with a somewhat known property of 7th Sea, we'll see where that goes. Last up, launching on the 10th as well, we have In the Heart of Darkness. Not Heart of Darkness. I read that book originally in English class in high school, but this is another survivor horror gothic experience with nightmares and trying to just make it out alive. All you're going to be doing is somehow surviving. You're taking potentially one of 4 protagonists and just tactically trying to survive the horrors that are unleashed on an island you are stranded on. Not a whole lot of other details on Board Game Geek. Supposedly going to be launching on the 10th, so we'll see what comes of it when it goes live, potentially. There you go. That's about it. I've got some other stuff that maybe I'll get filmed this weekend. It's just like a super busy weekend. We have a kids' party again for like the 3rd weekend in a row, and it just doesn't leave a whole lot of other time. I literally have a game set up right now on the kitchen table of Star Wars: The Clone Wars, the pandemic style game that just came out. I've got Horizons of Spirit Island sitting right next to me. I'm going to have a video coming out hopefully this next week of both of those. And then I also have Village Rails from Osprey Games that I'm going to talk about soon. I need to do the Trudvang one. And I just got a copy of the rules and the print and play for Harrow County as a solo. So if you're one of those few solo people that's looking at Harrow County, they sent me the print and play stuff. So I'm going to hopefully get some play in of that so I can talk to you about the solo, maybe even show it off a little bit with my crappy print and play. So yeah, we'll see where that goes. That's about all I got. I'm also going to do the Cthulhu Death May Die video. I'm going to do a little bit of thoughts on that, lessons learned and thoughts all together, because I'm sure that's going to be coming out soon, as well as the Tainted Grail video. So, I mean, I have like 7 or 8 videos right there, and I've got Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, potentially 5 days. And so we'll see what gets filmed, what gets where, and just where things go. So I don't really know what's going to be coming up this next week. And I was going to try and do a news video. Also, if you missed yesterday's poll, should I do news videos on a weekly basis? Is that interesting? Or you prefer like 1 or 2 big chunks a month? Because, you know, I know a couple other people are doing like weekly stuff and they're trying to like touch on everything and touch everything all the time. And is that worth it? Or would you rather see, you know, all of it in one place instead of being, you know, a little bit more scattered? I don't know. Just spitballing here. Just curious to see what people's preferences are. So type 8 in the comment section. Anyway, that's all I got. That's it. Like I said, I got a game of Star Wars Clone Wars I need to go play after filming this. So we'll see if I can beat whatever villain I'm playing this time. I got to pick out the villain. You know what? I'm thinking we're going Darth Maul this time. Yeah, we're going Maul. Gotta do it. Okay, that's all I got. Stay classy. Thanks for watching. Tune in, subscribe, Patreon. Someone in the Patreon, Shani, made a good point. Like, if I'm going to cull games, maybe I should offer them to my Patreon people first at a discount. So I think I might take her up on that suggestion. Make that a new tier or something. You know, put that out there for stuff that I'm looking to get rid of or want to get rid of, especially some of the review copies that, you know, I liked but necessarily aren't keepers, or just stuff I've bought and just don't have space for, stuff like that. So if that interests you, let me know. And yeah, I got one of those. Subscribe, blah, 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 YouTube thing, blah, 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 all that stuff. You know what it is. You're not new to this. Okay. Have a great weekend. Eat some cake. Or not. I don't know. Birthday parties, right? Birthday parties. Right. My 2-year-old said to me, "What's up?" twice yesterday. The 2-year-old, "What's up?" "Daddy, what's up?" And then it was, Daddy, what's up? I'm like, oh my gosh. You can't make this stuff up. Okay, one last 2-year-old story here at the end for like the 3 people that are watching at this point. Because this is what you get when you tune into the end of Liege of Games. This is not, you don't get this on other channels, right? So my wife was taking him in the car somewhere, and he loves trucks, right? So they're driving and they see a fire truck, which is just amazing. Like, fire truck is like probably 3rd behind dump trucks and garbage trucks, believe it or not. But so they see the fire truck and it's just going somewhere. It's no lights around or anything. It's just, you know, passive, regular sort of thing. And goes by. He goes to my wife. He goes, Mommy, fire truck needs batteries. Right? Because you got the toy cars and the toy trucks at home, right? All the time that, you know, the lights don't come on, then story checks out, right? Kids thinking. He's scary smart. Anyway, that's all I got. See you later. That's why you tune into Liege of Games, right? That's why you tune in for stuff like that at the end.